Okay, this lesson is going to cover factoring polynomials using real zeros. What we're going to attempt to do here is factor polynomials of a higher degree than your normal quadratic equations. So the one we'll actually be concentrating on will be a fourth degree. We're going to do x to the fourth plus 7x cubed minus 9x squared minus 10x minus 16. So take a minute, go ahead and put that in your calculator, and go ahead and find the zeros. And on the next screen, we'll show you what those zeros look like. Okay, so on the left here, I just gave you a little bit more of a zoomed out view. It's a fourth degree polynomial, so you can see the end behavior. We see that it crosses the x-axis twice, it has two zeros. If you zoom in a little bit, like I did on the right-hand graph over here, you can see that there are two zeros, one here at -8 and another here at 2. So what we have to do in order to factor this polynomial is we're going to have to use both of these zeros and use synthetic division to break it down. If the degree is 4 but we only have two zeros, then there are two missing. So let's see what that would look like. We're going to set up our synthetic division. So we have 1, 7, -9, -10, and -16. Remember that if you're missing a term, so for instance, let's say there was no x cubed in your original polynomial, you'd have to hold its place with a 0. And here we don't have that problem, but just something to watch out for. Now, it really doesn't matter which zeros you use first. In this case, we had 2, right? So we have to use -8 at some point as a divisor, and we have to use 2. So we'll kind of really choose whichever one you want. Let's say you use 2 first. Not a big deal. Okay, let's go through the process. Bring the 1 down. Again, since you're using a real 0, what should happen is that remainder at the end should be 0. Now, since we had a second 0, we have to pick up where we left off in synthetic division and use that second 0. So we're going to do that one more time. See, I'm going right from my last line. Again, should get a remainder of 0. A couple things to note here. First off, remember we started this equation and it was x to the fourth, this polynomial, right? Once we divided by 1 power, that brought it down to x to the third. Once we divided one more time, that brings it down to x squared. Now what's my answer? That's really the question, right? Well, the original question was factor the polynomial. So in order to do that, I know that I have two factors here, the zeros that I found, x minus 2 and x plus 8. But there's one other factor, and that was why we did all of this work, and that factor is hiding right here as x squared plus 1x plus 1. Now if you're wondering, okay, well how do I know for sure that that's right? What you could do is you could actually expand this to try and see if you get all the way back to the beginning, right? So on the next slide, just to finish up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this whole polynomial so you can see that it does indeed become what we said it was at the very beginning. So we start with x minus 2, x plus 8, and then we have x squared plus x plus 1. Now, you really could do this in any order. I'm personally going to just use the first two to start us off. So when we expand that, when we distribute, we get x squared minus 2x plus 8x minus 16. Right? Now the whole time, okay, don't forget this x squared plus x plus 1 hasn't gone anywhere. Right? Now let's clean this up a little bit. That really is x squared plus 6x minus 16. So how do I finish up? Well, what I want to do at this point is I want to distribute one last time with x squared plus 6x minus 16 and x squared plus x plus 1. What does that mean? Well, really what I have to do is take my time, 1, 2, 3, distribute, then I got to do again with the middle term, and then I got to do it one last time. Let's use just a different color here so we can really show you how that looks. that 16 then is going to have to be distributed as well. Okay, so starting with the first piece, x to the fourth plus x to the third plus x squared. Now distributing 6x plus 6x cubed plus 6x squared plus 6x. And then lastly distributing that negative 16. Minus 16x squared minus 16x minus 16. And now you're home free at this point. Just combine like terms. Finish up with x to the fourth. We got that. Plus 7x to the third. Now look carefully. You have 3 squared terms, right? 1 plus 6 is 7. Minus 16 is negative 9x squared, right? Combine the x's. Minus 10x. Finally, minus 16. So exactly what we started. So there's always a way to prove that what you did in factoring indeed is the same expression that you started with. Hope that helps.